I never imagined that a single afternoon could change the way I saw my marriage. Not through an affair. Not through a hidden secret. But through a car. My car. It started on a Saturday morning. The kind where the sun feels too bright for the mood you wake up with. I wasn't angry then. I wasn't even suspicious. I was simply tired from a long week and looking forward to a day of doing absolutely nothing. My car, a silver sedan that I'd bought with my own savings, was parked in the driveway, shining like it knew it was mine. It was more than just a vehicle. It was my independence. The one thing I paid for entirely myself, without needing anyone's help. I was in the kitchen making coffee when I heard voices outside. At first, I didn't think much of it. My husband often talked to neighbors or his cousins without warning. But then I heard her voice. Sharp, nasal, and endlessly dramatic. His mother. I frowned. She rarely came over without announcing herself. And when she did, she came loaded with opinions about my life that nobody had invited. I moved toward the window and peeked out. There she stood, hands on her hips, complaining loudly about how unfair her life was, how she deserved better, and how my husband, her precious son, wasn't doing enough for her. Then I saw him, my husband, Jamal, standing next to my car with the keys in his hand. At first, I didn't process it. I thought maybe he was helping her load something in the back. Or maybe he was moving my car out of the driveway. But then I heard his words, muffled but clear enough to send a shock through my spine. Mom, just take it. You need it more than she does. I froze. She. He was talking about me as if I was some stranger. My fingers tightened around my mug so hard I thought it would shatter. I pushed open the window just a little, enough to hear what he was saying. But Jamal, his mother whined, "You know she won't be happy about this!" That girl is always so selfish. Selfish. A word she used for me whenever I refused to let her control something that wasn't hers. And then my husband laughed. Actually laughed. She'll get over it. I'll just explain it to her. She doesn't even drive it that much. I felt the air leave my body. A slow, cold realization sank into my stomach. He was giving away my car, not lending, not borrowing, not asking, giving it away. Like I was a child whose toys he managed. Like my money didn't matter. Like my decisions were irrelevant. I walked outside before I could talk myself down. I didn't slam the door or stomp my feet. I walked with the kind of quiet that scares people. My husband noticed me first. The way he flinched told me everything. "Oh, babe, hey," he said, smiling nervously. "You're up early." "I've been up," I replied, my voice steady. "What are you doing with my keys?" His mother jumped in before he could speak. "Salamu alaikum," she sang sweetly, pretending she hadn't been insulting me seconds earlier. "Your husband is being such a good son. He's giving me your extra car. You barely use it anyway, so you don't mind, right? Extra car, my car. Not his, not ours, mine." I turned to Jamal. "You're giving my car away." He held up his hands as if I was being unreasonable. "Relax, baby. It's not a big deal. My mom needs it more. Her car is old." "And why is that my problem?" I asked. He rolled his eyes. His mother scoffed dramatically. "There she goes, always making everything about herself." She muttered loudly enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. I ignored her completely. "How could you make this decision without talking to me?" I asked, keeping my tone even. His answer was a shrug. A shrug. "Because it's just a car. You'll survive." That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not in anger, but in clarity. This was who he had become. A man who thought my things belonged to him and his mother. A man who believed I should sacrifice while they took freely. A man who dismissed my feelings as overreacting anytime they got in the way of his mother's demands. "I earned that car," I said firmly. "Every payment, every service, every upgrade, that is my property. Not yours to give away like some charity donation." Before he could answer, his mother stepped forward, voice dripping with contempt. "Your father spoiled you too much. That's why you're so entitled. Jamal is the man. He decides what happens in the household. Not you." I looked her in the eye, then at my husband. "So that's how you see it?" He sighed impatiently. Don't make this bigger than it is. Mom needs the car. She's family. And I'm not. I asked quietly. He didn't respond. She smirked. That smug, victorious, poisonous smirk that told me she thought she had finally won. I'll be taking it now, she announced proudly, reaching for the door handle. That was the last straw. I stepped between her and the car. No, I said. Her eyebrows shot up. Excuse me. I said no. I repeated. Nobody is taking anything that belongs to me. Jamal exhaled sharply. Stop embarrassing us, please. Embarrassing them. For refusing to let them steal from me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply raised my hand and held up the spare key, because unlike him, I wasn't stupid enough to leave all the keys in one place. His mother screeched. Ho do dar you. How dare I what? I asked calmly. Protect my property. My rights. My dignity. She turned to her son like a child tattling on a playground. Jamal, tell her! Tell her I'm taking the car! But something in Jamal's face shifted. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't shame. It was irritation. Like I was the obstacle. Like I was the problem. Like I wasn't his partner but a burden challenging his authority. You're making this too difficult, he snapped. Just give her the damn car! At that moment, I realized something important. It wasn't about a car. It wasn't about his mother. It was about control. He didn't respect me. He didn't value me. He didn't even see me as an equal. But he made one fatal mistake that morning. He underestimated who I came from. Because later that afternoon, when I called my father and told him what happened, he didn't yell. He didn't rant. He didn't even sound surprised. He simply said, "Don't worry. I'll take care of it." And when my father decides to take care of something, people listen. Especially people like Jamal. Especially mothers like his. Especially families who think they can walk over mine. Little did my husband know. The real punishment wasn't mine to deliver. It was coming from a man who didn't need to raise his voice to destroy someone's arrogance. And by the time my father was done with them, neither Jamal nor his entitled mother would ever forget the consequences of disrespecting me again. My father has never been a loud man. He's never been the kind to threaten, argue, or create unnecessary drama. His silence has always been his strongest weapon. Growing up, he didn't need to raise his voice to command respect. His presence alone was enough. So when he said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it," I knew something was about to shift. My father wasn't a man of impulsive anger. He was a man of quiet strategy. I spent the rest of the day in a strange state, somewhere between fury and cold calm. Jamal avoided me like he was dodging bullets, retreating to his mother's house for the evening under the excuse of giving me space. Giving me space. After attempting to give away my property without permission. I couldn't tell if he understood what he had done, or if his ego was too inflated by his mother's approval to reflect. I didn't care anymore, because at 7 p.m. sharp, my father pulled into my driveway. He stepped out of his SUV wearing the same calm expression he always carried, his gray hair brushed back neatly, his posture straight, his eyes sharp. He didn't waste time with hugs or small talk. He simply asked, "Where are the documents?" He didn't need to specify which ones. He meant the registration, the title, the purchase receipts, all the paperwork that proved the car belonged to me. I brought them out neatly in a folder. He flipped through them, nodding slowly. "You bought the car in your name?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. "Every payment?" "Good," he said. Then he walked around the car, inspecting it as if calculating something. My father wasn't a mechanic or a lawyer, but he was smart enough to understand everything that mattered. After a long moment, he asked quietly, "Did he show any regret?" I shook my head. None. He insisted I was overreacting. My father exhaled through his nose, a subtle sign of disappointment. Then he needs a lesson that speaks in a language he understands. "What does that mean?" I asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he opened the folder again and took a picture of the title document with his phone. "Go inside," he said calmly. "Make yourself some tea. Let me handle this." I hesitated. "Baba, what are you going to do?" He looked at me with the same calm confidence he always carried, something that should have been done a long time ago. The next morning, everything began. I woke up to a missed call from Jamal at 6:30 a.m., then another at 700. Then 3 messages. Why did my mom get a call from the police? What did your dad do? This is going way too far. My heart skipped a beat. Police. I called my father immediately. He answered on the first ring. "Good morning," he said pleasantly, as if he'd spent the night reading a book, not orchestrating something that clearly had my husband panicking. "Baba, what's going on?" "I filed a report," he said simply, "for attempted theft." My breath caught. "Theft?" "Yes," my father said calmly. "Your husband attempted to transfer possession of property that does not belong to him to his mother. That is attempted theft by coercion and unauthorized transfer. She attempted to take it. That is attempted possession of stolen property." My jaw dropped. "Is that even possible?" "Legally," he said. "Absolutely. Whether or not it will escalate depends on how they respond." I was speechless. My father continued. "I also contacted a lawyer who specializes in marital asset disputes. Your husband will be served papers today requiring him to appear and explain his actions." I pressed a hand to my forehead. "Baba, this is huge." "This is appropriate," he corrected. They crossed a line. Respectfully dealing with disrespect teaches people to repeat it. Consequences teach them not to. There it was. The core of who my father was: fair, firm, and morally unshakable. "But Baba," I said quietly, "I'm still married to him. For now," he replied. "What happens next depends on you." Around noon, everything exploded. Jamal stormed into the house without knocking, his face red, his hair disheveled, and his words firing like bullets. "What the hell did you tell your father?" he shouted. I blinked slowly. "Don't raise your voice at me." "You got my mother involved with the police," he yelled. "She's terrified." They called her and asked questions about the car. "So?" I asked calmly. "She tried to take it?" "She didn't steal anything," he insisted. "I told her she could use it." I nodded. "Yes, you told her. That's the problem." He dragged a hand through his hair, pacing the living room like a restless animal. "This is insane," he muttered. "You're acting crazy." A laugh escaped me, cold and humorless. "Crazy is giving away someone else's property and then acting like you're the victim." "You didn't have to involve the cops." "I didn't," I said. "My father did. Because unlike you, he respects me." His face twisted, but before he could argue, there was a knock on the door. 2 uniformed officers stood on the porch. Jamal went pale. They weren't here to arrest anyone. My father wasn't vengeful, just thorough. But they were here to deliver a formal notice acknowledging the filed report and requesting statements from both him and his mother. The humiliation in Jamal's eyes was unmistakable. The entitlement started to crack. After they left, he collapsed onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. "This is a nightmare," he whispered. "No," I corrected gently. "This is accountability." He looked up at me, eyes burning with frustration, confusion, and something else, fear. "Your father hates me," he muttered. "No," I said. "My father hates disrespect." He didn't respond. He didn't need to. Because the next surprise came just 2 hours later. My father arrived. He walked into the house with the calm of a man attending a meeting he'd scheduled himself. Jamal immediately stood up, tense and defensive. My father raised a hand. "Set." Jamal sat. "It has come to my attention," my father began, "that you believe you have the right to make decisions for my daughter's property." Jamal swallowed hard. "Sir, I didn't mean." "You meant exactly what you did," my father cut in. "You made a decision without consulting the owner. You attempted to transfer property that is not yours. And worse, you enabled your mother's entitlement." Jamal opened his mouth again, but my father's stare silenced him. "Marriage," my father continued, "does not give you ownership over your wife's belongings, nor does it grant your mother authority in this household." Jamal's shoulders slumped. "Sir?" he whispered. I made a mistake. My father nodded. Yes, but not just one. You made a mistake, and then you defended it. You belittled her. You dismissed her. And you attempted to justify disrespect. Jamal's lips trembled. He had never looked so small. My father leaned forward slightly. You have one chance, he said. One opportunity to show that you understand the weight of what you've done. Jamal swallowed. What do you want me to do? I want you to fix it. My father said simply. Not with words. With actions. With proof that you value my daughter more than your ego and more than your mother's demands. And if I don't? Jamal whispered. My father's expression didn't change. Then this marriage will end, and you will leave with exactly what you brought into it. Jamal's face drained of color. My father stood, adjusted his coat, and said calmly, You have until tomorrow. Then he walked out, leaving Jamal trembling and speechless. For the first time since the incident, I saw real clarity, real fear, on my husband's face. And I realized something. The revenge hadn't been the police report. It hadn't been the legal paperwork. It hadn't even been the stern confrontation. The real revenge was forcing him to face the consequences of the man he had chosen to become. And tomorrow would decide everything. The next morning felt strangely quiet, unnatural, like the stillness before a storm. I stood in the kitchen sipping tea, my mind replaying last night's confrontation like a movie I couldn't pause. I had been firm. I had been clear. And for once, I hadn't apologized for someone else's wrongdoing. But something in me knew this wasn't over. My husband, Daniel, had gone silent since the fight. No yelling, no excuses, no forced laughter. Just nothing. A hollow quiet. The kind that makes you more nervous than shouting ever could. I expected him to try to talk to me, to argue, to justify himself. But instead he avoided me. Avoided eye contact. Avoided conversation. Avoided the truth. When I asked if he wanted breakfast, he shrugged and said, I'll grab something later. When I asked if we could talk, he muttered, I'm busy. When I told him he had disrespected me in a way I would never forget, he said absolutely nothing. The silence was louder than every fight we'd ever had. His mother, of course, was not silent around noon. My phone began buzzing nonstop. Guess who? Evelyn. Her messages came in rapid-fire bursts, each more dramatic than the last. You embarrassed us last night. You are being ungrateful again. Returning the car was unnecessary and disrespectful. You need to apologize to my son. You caused him distress. You think you're smart because your father has money. You will ruin this marriage with your attitude. My stomach tightened. It wasn't even anger anymore, just exhaustion. Evelyn had this incredible talent for twisting reality until she was the victim of the very drama she caused. I ignored the first few messages, then the next 10, then the voice notes, until finally, a 2-minute voice message came in, and curiosity got the best of me. I shouldn't have pressed play, but I did, and honestly, this is why I never liked you. From the beginning, you acted like your family was better than ours. Your father is arrogant, and you just proved you're exactly like him. I pressed pause. My hands weren't shaking from fear, but from rage. She could insult me all she wanted. I had learned to tolerate her acid-coated words. But my father, the man who worked his bones into dust to build everything he had, the man who came from nothing and still carried himself with humility, she crossed a line. And maybe before last night, I would have tried to keep peace. Tried to be the bigger person. Tried not to make waves. But something had changed. This time, I wasn't going to swallow my pride to keep anyone comfortable. The breaking point that evening, Daniel finally showed emotion, but not the kind I expected. He came home, dropped his work bag on the couch, and said bitterly, Why did you have to involve your father? You humiliated me. I stared at him, disbelieving. You humiliated yourself, I replied quietly. You gave away something that wasn't yours to give, you lied. And you tried to make me feel crazy for being upset. It's just a car, he snapped. It's not the car, I screamed, finally losing my composure. It's the disrespect. It's the entitlement. It's the fact that you prioritized your mother's wants over our marriage." He flinched but didn't respond. I continued, voice trembling. "You didn't tell your mother the car wasn't yours because you didn't want to upset her. But you didn't mind upsetting me." His jaw tightened. He didn't like being confronted, not by me, not by anyone. "It's not a big deal," he muttered. "You're making this bigger than it is." "But it is a big deal," I said, calmer now, "because it shows where I stand in your life. Behind your mother, behind her wishes, behind everything except your own comfort." For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then he said the words that snapped something inside me. "You're overreacting. My mother deserves things too, and I don't." He hesitated. That hesitation was my answer. The call that changed everything later that night, while I sat alone in the bedroom replaying every red flag I had ignored, my phone rang. It was my father. "Are you home?" he asked. "Yes." "Good. I'm coming over." My heart stuttered. Dad wasn't dramatic. He wasn't impulsive. If he said he was coming, something had pushed him over the edge. 20 minutes later, he arrived, stern, calm, unreadable. "Where's Daniel?" he asked. "In the living room." He walked right in, no hesitation, and stood in front of my husband, who looked confused and nervous. Dad wasn't a violent man, but he had a presence, a quiet authority, that made even arrogant people straighten up. "I heard your mother has a lot to say about me," Dad said plainly. Daniel paled. She didn't mean." "No," my father interrupted. "She meant every word. And now I'm going to mean mine." Dad handed him a folder. "What's this?" Daniel asked. "Your agreement," Dad said. "I told you both when you got married. Anything I give my daughter belongs only to her. Including the car. Including the condo. Including the support I offered when you were struggling." Daniel's eyes widened. "What agreement?" "The one you signed," Dad replied, "stating you have no claim over anything gifted to my daughter by me." "Not now. Not ever." I remembered that paper. Daniel signed it casually during the wedding paperwork, thinking it was just a formality. Dad walked closer, voice low and steady. "You can disrespect me. I don't care. But you will not take advantage of my daughter. And you will not allow your mother to treat her like she's beneath you." Daniel swallowed hard. "This is all a misunderstanding." "No," I said, finally speaking. "This is a pattern." My father turned to me. "Do you want to stay in this marriage?" he asked, not unkindly. I felt it then. The weight, the exhaustion, the years of trying to be polite, patient, understanding, forgiving. I looked at Daniel. At the man who once promised to put me first. At the husband who repeatedly chose his mother over me. At the person who took and took until I was drained. And I said the bravest, most freeing word of my life. No. Not whispered, not hesitated, not uncertain, just no. Daniel looked stunned, as if consequences were a foreign concept to him. My father nodded once. "Then pack your things," he told me gently. "You're coming home." Daniel's mother calls and learns the truth. As I quietly gathered my clothes, documents, and essentials, Daniel paced the hallway in frustration. "You're not serious," he said. "You can't just leave over one argument?" "It's not one argument," I replied without looking at him. "It's every argument, every disrespect, every time you let your mother run our life, every time you chose her over me."
"You're breaking our marriage."
"No," I said, zipping a suitcase. "You broke it. I'm just acknowledging it." His phone began ringing. "Evelyn." "Of course," he answered, and I could hear her voice shrilling through the tiny speaker. "What is happening? Why is her father there? What is she doing? Why is she packing?" Daniel tried to calm her. He failed miserably. My father took the phone from his hand and said, "She's leaving, and I strongly advise you not to contact her." Then he hung up. I swear the silence afterward felt like victory. The final revenge as we walked out of the apartment. Dad took one last look at Daniel. "I'll be contacting my lawyer," he said. "You and your mother attempted to take property that wasn't yours. Consider this your final warning." Daniel's face drained of color. "And one more thing," Dad added. There will be no financial help going forward, none. Not for you, and especially not for your mother. That was the moment Daniel broke, truly broke. Because he knew the truth. He didn't lose a car. He lost the comfort, privilege, and support he'd been leaning on for years. He lost the woman who loved him far more than he deserved. He lost his marriage. And he had no one to blame but himself. Epilogue. 1 year later, I'm sitting in my new apartment, small, cozy, peaceful. I pay my own bills. I make my own decisions. I answer to myself alone. I found myself again. Daniel reached out months later, begging to talk. I didn't respond. His mother tried calling too. Blocked. Last I heard, they're struggling financially. His mother tried manipulating another family member for money, and it backfired spectacularly. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I'm healing. I'm happy. And I learned the most important lesson of my life. When someone shows you who they truly are, believe them the first time.